Meet the Headhunter, an expert sniper who cares for the finer things in life. Money, luxury, and watching people's heads explode. The Headhunter has a strength of 1, perception 9, endurance 1, charisma 3, intelligence 5, agility 7, and luck 3. Strength isn't needed for this build in any way, so it's at 1. A perception of 9 will give us great VATS accuracy, and once we get the bobblehead in the early game, we will have access to all of the perception perks. You want to be out of range of your enemies, so endurance won't be needed for you. Drop it to 1 and make sure you don't get hit. Charisma is at 3, not only for Lone Wanderer, but to also show that the Headhunter can be charming sometimes, but mostly just seems like a bit of an arrogant prick. An intelligence of 5 means we will level at an acceptable speed, and gives us access to a couple of good perks. Agility is at 7 because of Ninja. This perk is insanely powerful, and will make our sneak attacks so much more deadly. The extra action points can come in handy too. A luck of 3 will both get us Bloody Mess and make it slightly easier to build up the critical meter. The Headhunter isn't specifically a VATS character, but it's nice to know that you will occasionally have crits available to you. The essential perks for this build are Rifleman, Gun Nut, Ninja, and Sneak. Rifleman is going to boost our base damage and give us a few extra bonuses for our sniper rifles too. Gun Nut will allow us to customise our rifles to have the best parts possible. After all, you don't want to be seen travelling with anything less than the finest sniper that can be crafted. Ninja and Sneak are going to work together to ensure that you get plenty of one-shot kills and to make you into a long-range silent murder machine. The recommended perks I have included are Lone Wanderer, Penetrator, Locksmith, Night Person, Sniper, Concentrated Fire, Mr. Sandman, and Bloody Mess. Lone Wanderer is a great perk that will give you plenty of carry weight, but more importantly, give you a damage boost whilst travelling alone. Penetrator is a perk that can be very situationally useful, as it will allow you to shoot through cover in VATS. This is incredibly handy when facing that one gunner who never seems to want to pop his head out of cover. It is also a great way to deal with Mirelurks and robots, which you may otherwise struggle with. Locksmith is a perk that I decided to grab purely because there are so many locks in Nuka world and the Commonwealth as a whole. It's just a really handy perk to have. Night Person is going to help you level faster and boost your VATS accuracy during the night time. The second rank also gives you night vision, however if you don't like this then you can always just bring a sniper with a night vision scope along instead. Sniper is, surprisingly enough, a good perk for snipers to grab. The extra headshot accuracy in VATS is great, especially for a build called the Headhunter, and the knockdown effect is both hilarious and ridiculously effective. Concentrated Fire is a perk I don't normally go for, but which I decided to get for this build. It will give you increased accuracy for each shot taken in VATS at the same body part. I found this more useful early to mid-game, when my rifle was still fairly lightweight and could take more shots in VATS, whereas later on my snipers could only take a couple of shots in VATS, so this was less useful late game. Mr. Sandman is going to give us a nice little boost to our sniper rifles, as long as they have a silencer on them. You'll want to silence all your rifles, so getting this perk is certainly worthwhile. Finally, Bloody Mess is going to give us a small damage boost, which on its own isn't anything amazing, but when added to all the other boosts we get, helps to significantly increase the power of our shots. There are 3 role-playing perks for this build: Awareness, Vans, and Science. And yes, that's right, I did include Vans in there. Science will allow you to craft some of the more exotic mods for your snipers. Most of these mods aren't really needed for the build, although night scopes and recon scopes definitely can come in handy, and I felt it was more of a role-playing perk, as the Headhunter is the sort of guy who wants to have the fanciest scopes available, even if he doesn't use them. Awareness and Vans both do have some use, but are in this build primarily as I like to roleplay that the Headhunter had a custom Pip-Boy made for him, with some extra features to set it apart from the regular Pip-Boys given to the other Vault residents. In addition, the second rank of each of these perks will help your VATS accuracy, which is always handy. The Headhunter was born into a life of wealth and luxury. His family had been rich for generations, and this pedigree heritage went straight to his head. As long as he could remember, he viewed the poor as almost a lesser version of humanity. He felt that your wealth was a measure of who you were as a person, and as such he viewed anyone without lots of money as insignificant. After receiving the finest of educations that money could buy, the Headhunter decided to not worry about getting himself a job, and instead simply enjoy living in the lap of luxury. He spent his free time drinking, relaxing, and hunting, a pastime that he became incredibly skilled at. Eventually, however, his parents grew tired of the headhunter's lack of drive to do anything with his life, and told him that he would have to get a job or have his allowance cut off. Needless to say, this came as a shock to the headhunter. He couldn't afford to lose access to all the money that he so dearly loved, so instead, he decided that he would get himself a job. He wanted a job where he would be able to boss people around and still enjoy plenty of luxuries without having to do too much work. His granddad had been an officer in the military, and told him that being an officer had mostly entailed drinking with the other officers and making sure the men stayed in line. However, this was before the resource wars began, and the headhunter didn't realise how much this would change things. He attempted to enrol into the military as an officer, but due to some kind of failure with the computer system, he was instead drafted as a private and sent to basic training. This outraged the headhunter. Having to work alongside people who he despised left a sour taste in his mouth. He applied for training as a sniper. At least that way he could avoid most of the other soldiers. As soon as he began training, it was obvious that he was destined to be a sniper. It seemed almost every shot he took would be a bullseye, and the headhunter never even looked like he was trying. This earned him a great deal of admiration with the officers above him, and one in particular gave him an offer he couldn't refuse. He would join up with an elite squad as the team's sniper, and in return would receive the best living quarters wherever he went, the finest food the army could get, and a quite frankly ridiculous paycheck for his service. As you may have guessed, the squad that he joined was the infamous Kill Squad. He was a valuable member of the team who killed his fair share of people whilst with the squad, but he never really fit in with the rest of them. He looked down on all the others, and they all viewed him as an arrogant and cocky individual. To make matters worse, the headhunter wasn't chosen as the squad's leader, which hurt his ego greatly and made him resent the sergeant. He would receive the chance to act on these feelings not long after the Nuka incident, which led to the sergeant being imprisoned temporarily before an execution would be delivered. The headhunter asked to be the one to execute the sergeant, and his request was granted. However, the night before the execution date, the headhunter had gone for a late night stroll and ended up seeing two figures in the distance, fleeing from the camp cells in two hideous, ramshackle suits of power armour that looked like they'd been crafted from junk. He shouldered his rifle, aimed at the fusion core of one of the suits, and gently squeezed the trigger. The headhunter felt a feeling of satisfaction at watching the explosion come forth from the fusion core, knowing that he had got rid of a couple of pieces of junk. It wasn't until the next morning that he discovered that it was in fact the sergeant and his brother who had been in the suits, and the headhunter had apparently killed them. Although it was admittedly difficult to tell, as most of the pieces left over were rather small. The headhunter continued a fruitful career with the military for some time, earning enough money to buy himself several houses, and places and vaults near to all of these, just in case the worst came to worst. It was fortunate for him that he decided to do this, as after leaving the military, he got married to a woman who was from a wealthy family of lawyers, and together they had a son. The money that he had given to Vault-Tec meant that when the bombs did start falling, he was able to get all three of them to relative safety. The headhunter will be joining the operators. He holds them in high esteem as they seem to be similar-minded individuals who understand that nothing matters more than money, whether it be dollar bills or bottle caps. In addition, it will allow the headhunter to once again get a small taste of luxury, something he will be sorely missing after travelling through the post-apocalyptic landscape of Fallout 4. Whatever you do, don't join the Minutemen or the Railroad, as the headhunter looks down on them, seeing them as poor factions filled with poor people, who he views as less than nothing. If you want to do main story quests, then join the Brotherhood and then the Institute as soon as you can. The headhunter hopes to get similar treatment from the Brotherhood of Steel as he did from the pre-war military. After finding out this isn't the case though, he will join the Institute, as they seem to be the only faction who treat him with the respect he believes he deserves. You will want to travel without a companion for the entire game. The headhunter looks down on all the companions, and doesn't want to have to walk the waste with people who he views as inferior. In addition, Lone Wanderer will give you some great benefits that far outweigh any companion you can get. As a side note, I do feel that it's a shame there isn't a sniper-based companion in Fallout 4, similar to Boone in Fallout New Vegas. The main weapon for this build will be Splatter Cannon. Make sure to mod it out as the most powerful sniper rifle possible, and make sure you equip a silencer and have it in the operator colours. You won't have too much of a need for a secondary weapon in the late game, unless you run out of ammo, but feel free to carry around any other powerful sniper with you, possibly modded out for different scenarios such as for shorter ranges or night sniping. The armour for this build is a full set of operator armour with a fancy suit underneath. There are a few different variations to these, but simply go with whatever you feel looks most stylish. In addition, you want to equip patrolman sunglasses, a military cap and a skull bandana. The first two will give you a boost to perception, but more importantly, they just look really cool together. The military cap in particular, I felt suited the Headhunter incredibly well. Before you get to the Nuka World DLC, I would suggest going around in a black suit. This won't give you much in the way of defense, but it does look really good, which the Headhunter cares a lot more about. This build does not use power armour. His days spent in the kill squad led to his dislike for the mechanical suits, as various members of his squad use the suits, and the Headhunter liked to distance himself from the others in whatever way he could, even if it was something as simple as not using the same equipment as them. The Headhunter is a fairly versatile sniper. He is effective both inside and outside of VATS, meaning that whichever way of playing you prefer, this build can work for you. Focus on getting as many caps as you can and keeping hold of them. Becoming wealthy is incredibly important for the Headhunter, more so than anything else. Try to focus on doing jobs for people who quite visibly have wealth, and ignore the requests of anyone who is too poor to pay enough for your services. I hope all of you enjoyed this latest build. As always, there will be a new build coming out next week, but I am also thinking about doing some Skyrim content in the near future. Currently my thoughts are on uploading a few builds to the channel, and then doing a role-playing playthrough as one of the builds. Nothing is definite yet though, so make sure to comment below with your views on whether or not you would enjoy to see this. Keep your eyes on the channel in the near future for additional content, and make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any new videos. Thank you very much for watching this video to the very end. Make sure to comment below with your opinions on the future content, and I will see you all again in next week's video.